Hello, everyone. We should be live on YouTube, Twitter, and also on, I believe, the Collective Shift Facebook account. Hello, everyone. Today, we're going to be talking ApeCoin. Very, very exciting week for crypto, especially for NFTs. We have our first major ERC 721 collection in Bored Ape Yacht Club, so our first NFT collection, and they have released a coin. And the industry's gone wild. Analytics are going wild. And today we're going to dive into it all. We're going to look at price performance over the last couple of days. If anybody can chat with me, just say hello, make sure you can hear me. And I'll be able to chat back in the chat as well. So hopefully streaming for half hour, 45 minutes, an hour. We'll see how fun this is, but I'm excited to dive into the first couple of days of performance related to ApeCoin. So let's get right into it. And for those that don't know me, I'm Nathan over at collectiveshift.io. Be sure to like and subscribe. We do crypto and NFT, metaverse, pretty much all of crypto industry research for our subscribers. And we keep you up to date on the current investment trends within crypto, and then also provide weekly investment opportunities and highlight coins, projects, platforms, blockchains that we find interesting. So head over there for more information. Let's get right into ApeCoin. First, what we're going to look at today is their CoinGecko. So we're going to have a look at the baseline, just the overall macro information for ApeCoin. So here it is. We do have ApeCoin already ranked number 70 in the world in terms of cryptocurrencies. We're at about $13 right now per coin, and we'll see where that lies over the last couple of days. Market cap right now is sitting at about 1.7 billion. That's based on about 129 million tokens in circulating supply, a little lower than I anticipated being released in circulation. Based on their website, I calculated about 277 million in circulating supply at issuance, but looks like I was a bit wrong there. We have 129 million outstanding, and those are going to be increasing over the next, I believe, 3 years until we get a total max supply of tokens of 1 billion tokens. So based on our total supply multiplied by our token price of $13, we get a fully diluted valuation of about 13 billion. Matt, a fellow analyst over at Collective Shift, him and I got on YouTube a couple of days ago, right when ApeCoin launched, and gave a few price predictions on what we thought the token would issue at. I came in at about 1 to 5 billion. That was pretty accurate on the day of issuance. Matt came in at 14 billion, and looks like he's right today. So well done, Matt. You've picked this one. We have had some recent really solid growth over the last couple of days that we did at Collective Shift kind of anticipate. If we look down here at the chart, here I have a price chart for the last 7 days in a linear fashion. Let's see if logarithmic looks any different. Doesn't look too different. It was released on Thursday, March 17th, in a very systematic and coordinated launch among many exchanges. And we can actually look at those exchanges. Let's do that right now, actually, right here. If we go over to apecoin.com, ApeCoin now has a Twitter account. They have their own website. And here are all of the exchanges that ApeCoin released on pretty much simultaneously. We had pretty much all of the tier 1 or A-grade central exchanges release the coin on the first day and in a very synchronized manner. So for those looking to launch a token in a global and best practice way, this is the way to do it. You got to reach out to all the central exchanges with a coordinated launch. Exchanges like Coinbase, Binance US, Kraken, Gemini, FTX. And then from a decentralized standpoint, if you're looking to purchase ApeCoin on the decentralized markets, we do have SushiSwap and Uniswap that have liquidity pools. So we can get ApeCoin without using a central exchange, which is very nice for us crypto natives. Let us go back to our price performance. We've had a ridiculous amount of volume, absolutely absurd volume here, $4.9 billion traded in the last 24 hours. Oh, cool. We can do chat overlay. So if we have any comments, feel free, and we can display your comments on the screen. Looking at the price chart for just the last 48, 50 hours, or 2 days, 2.5 days, we released on Thursday around $7. I think this might be a little misleading. Let me check Deck Screener at the moment right now. Sometimes CoinGecko doesn't always get the exact, the earliest trades in history. Typically, CoinGecko will come in like a day or two late on brand new issued coins. And typically here, I bet you they were just a few hours behind, which is not a big deal. But for those that want to look at, the trading that happened in the first couple of hours or minutes of a newly released token, I do use Dex Screener. So let's actually go over there and we'll have a look. And it actually tells a similar story. So let's share my screen here with Dex Screener. Here we are. I'd heard rumors that a few people initially in like the first minutes of trading were either purchasing and selling at above $30, but doesn't look like it from the two charts that we were posted. Here on Dex Screener, it looks like price started at about $4.80. That's every 4 hours. Let's go down every 1 hour. And yes, we had a very, very large pump on Thursday, March 17th, in that first hour. We went from about $4.70 up to $7. So now if we go back to ApeCoin, we can pick up that price here at about $7.40. And since then, ApeCoin's gone exponential. So we have hit an exponential growth phase. This price pattern here is pretty typical of cryptocurrencies. There's something out there called the crypto J curve that was popularized by a valuator called Chris Berninski. I think that was in 2017 he released that article, essentially saying that a lot of tokens in their early life cycle do go through a J curve type growth. Here in this exponential phase of a newly released token, we see initial demand being met. Everybody that had no exposure to ApeCoin and wanted exposure to ApeCoin, their demand gets filled in this first run up, and if it's a good coin, it'll be an exponential run up. Typically, after that initial demand is met, everybody in the market is satisfied with how many tokens they have, and then we get for a decrease in trading volume, and then therefore a regression in price, and what I call a time of equilibrium finding. We have regression in prices, and typically that J curve will repeat itself, where shoot up, we'll meet our initial demand, a first local all-time high, then we'll have a regression period where the market's figuring out what an actual fair value is. So for those out there looking to get into it today, probably your biggest risk is that we are in the middle of a crypto J curve, be buying a short-term top. But of course, I say short-term there because in my opinion, I'm bullish medium and bullish long-term on the Bored Ape Yacht Club token, ApeCoin. And actually, it's far more, I guess, than just the Bored Ape Yacht Club token. It's really kind of a token for the whole Yuga Labs ecosystem that they're going to build. So, and the Animoca, a lot of Animoca ecosystem stuff that we'll get into today. So from our all-time high, our local all-time high has now been set so far at about $17. So that would mean, around 17 billion in fully diluted valuation, probably close to 2 billion in normal market cap. And now we've got a period of going back from 17 to 13. So we're really in this phase right here where there's kind of two ways to go here. We continue the regression downwards, and that price goes down below 17, somewhere down, honestly, between 7 and 13, really. I don't anticipate ApeCoin going below the issuance price. So a lot of tokens can do a J curve, but then over time, this regression period will be so large and so long that it will actually go below the issuance price, which for us was around $4 or $7. I don't anticipate that happening with ApeCoin. In my opinion, I think we will regress for a while. Initial demand will be met. Everybody in the market will be satisfied with their holdings for a while, and trading volume will come down. Then we will have marginal trading that, will move the market, but it won't move the market in exponential waves like this until we have some new information into the market. So two possibilities, in my opinion, pretty obvious possibilities, is a price regression over the next 3 to 6 months, or 1 to 6 months, between 13 and 7. I don't think we'll go below issuance price. Or over the next week or two, if we have continued initial demand, we've seen this with probably most notably the Yiren token way back in the day, Yiren Finance, YFI, or Yiren Finance, we could see us having another initial pump. And this initial pump that lasted, less than 36 hours, this could extend a week or two. And this initial J curve pump could actually last a week. And this price, I'd probably say would top out, around mid-20s if we were to continue the exponential price performance that we're currently experiencing. Now, yes, so two opportunities there. Either a regression back down below 10, or in my opinion, this initial growth period will go from 13 back above 17, potentially into the low 20s, low to mid 20s, and then we will experience a time of regressed prices. Excuse me. So I do think we'll have that regardless. There will be a time where Bored Ape Yacht Club or the Ape token does consolidate. So it's either right now, and the $17 price is our local all-time high for say the next couple of months, next 3 to 6 months, or in the coming weeks we do pump to, my opinion, up to mid 20s, but probably no higher than that. Now, where do I get mid 20s from? Let's go have a look at some comparables. When the ApeCoin was being launched, there was only about 1 day between announcement and then the issuance of the token. And I really thought that was a solid strategy by Yuga Labs and just by their team in general. I think it was great to come in there with some urgency, not to say, hey, here's all this information about a token that you can discuss and pour over. No, let's release the token, and then 24 hours, we're going to hit you with the token on central exchanges. No time for discussion. Let's get right into buying and what the market sees. So I really thought that was a good strategy. And for those listening that don't own or have exposure to Bored Apes, this token release is absolutely historic, and in my opinion is setting best practices and gold standards for token issuances for the next year, for the next couple of years, in my opinion. And we'll get into why, because I could show you pages like the ApeCoin DAO governance, or I could show you pages like their governance proposals. And actually, let me just show you one of them. Here we are. Well, we'll discuss this in a bit, but my point is, even if you don't own Bored Ape tokens, analyze what ApeCoin is doing for their token launch, so then you can compare that to what your favorite NFT collections do when they launch a token. In my opinion, most NFT collections out there will have a related ERC20 token or a fungible token. The really, really good ones will. I could see some collections building into ApeCoin, if you're a derivative collection, a secondary collection. But if you're a primary collection, like a Doodles, like an Azuki, like a Clone X, then in my opinion, they're going to have their own token that competes with ApeCoin. And we're going to have true, I was about to say meme coins, but that's another question for today. We're going to have true cultural tokens for our NFT collections. So even if you don't own Bored Apes, really, really great to note what best practices they are doing. Now, let us go back to that discussion of price. In my opinion, the price of Ape token is going to go either from $13 today up to mid 20s in the next coming weeks if we continue to see initial demand, or we will have a regression period back between $7 and $13, with our issuance price being around $4 to $5 is what I saw from Dex Screener. Yeah, Dex Screener said the initial token price was around $4.68 roughly. So I don't think we'll go below issuance price, but I do think we have the opportunity to regress or to go up to about mid 20s at most. And where do I get that mid 20s number from? Well, when the ApeCoin was issued, a lot of people went to comparables. So in valuations, whenever we're looking at valuations, the number one technique is to look at the organization you're valuing and then compare them to publicly traded companies. Well, historically on the stock market, publicly traded companies, in this case, just publicly traded tokens. So most people looked to the top non-fungible tokens in the world, and I'm on CoinGecko here looking at top non-fungible token category. And most people look to Axie Infinity, most people look to Decentraland, and most people look to the Sandbox as the best comparables for ApeCoin. All of these organizations are building metaverses of some sort. The three that I just mentioned are building virtual worlds. And we also know that Bored Ape is doing a metaverse land sale in the future. So the ApeCoin is getting into the virtual world space. So these were our best comparables. And that's why let's look at those prices today really, really quickly, because I want to get back to ApeCoin. But Axie Infinity trading at about 3.7 billion. and let's quickly look at their fully diluted. So there's ApeCoin down the bottom here, number 70 in the market. Axie Infinity, Decentraland, and the Sandbox are actually quite concentrated. They're all similarly valued, which is really, really good from a market efficiency standpoint. And then they're also obviously, they're all ranked 34 to 39. So actually a really, really interesting period in the terms of valuation of metaverse coins, where we're really have some compressed prices here. So compared to our $3.5 to $3.7 billion valuations for those three gold standard organizations, ApeCoin's down here sitting at 1.6 billion, and will slowly, in my opinion, ApeCoin's going to be up here with these four, and ApeCoin's going to be in the realm of Theta Network, of Flow, and should skip past Gala and Economy, no problem. So that would take us to about 2 billion if we got past Economy and Flow. And now let's quickly look at the fully diluted valuations of our three largest metaverse coins in the world. Here we have Axie Infinity. Axie Infinity is at about 13.6 billion. Decentraland sitting at about 5.3 billion. And the Sandbox sitting at about 9.4 billion. So we have a range of fully diluted valuations for our largest metaverse coins and NFT coins, about 5 to 13 billion. So if we did go up to my price point of about mid-20s, potentially in the short term, it would be the largest NFT coin potentially in the world from a fully diluted standpoint. And it would be certainly brushing up with their market cap valuations as well. So going back to our price chart gives us a little bit of comfort there that we're at 17. We're undervalued compared to our other major metaverse assets, probably as we should be, because ApeCoin is not built out like Decentraland or the Sandbox or Axie Infinity, but it does seem like they should be in the same conversation. And actually, if we go back to trading volume, this is what's really, really remarkable. If we look at our 24-hour trading volume, and let me increase the size of my mouse, excuse me. If we look at our trading volume for other NFT or metaverse coins in the past, Axie Infinity's got about 170 million in trading volume, Decentraland 240 million, the Sandbox 600 million in trading volume. Have a look at ApeCoin. ApeCoin's at 4.9 billion in sales volume over the last 24 hours. Just absurd numbers. And if those hold and we have continued 24-hour volume greater than these three metaverse tokens, another data point to say that they should be valued equally, or maybe ApeCoin should be valued more, which would be quite remarkable. So in my opinion, I think ApeCoin becomes the fourth largest NFT metaverse token in the world per CoinGecko, and that ApeCoin sits slightly below the 3 billion, sits somewhere between the 2 billion to 3.5 billion dollar valuation over the short term. So for those looking to get exposure, I think it's probably a decent time to get exposure, but it's probably a time to dollar cost average into ApeCoin, depending on your conviction. Now let's have a look at ApeCoin, the organization. I've been a Bored Ape Yacht Club holder since May of last year. Was very lucky to be able to find them early, appreciate the art. I was able to compare Bored Ape Yacht Clubs and say, great, this looks like CryptoPunks. CryptoPunks they were worth 10 to 20 grand at the time. And you could see that CryptoPunks were going to stay around. People were using them as their Twitter profiles at that time. So I connected the dots and just said, great, we got another CryptoPunks here, and the artwork looks good. People like monkeys. Let's see what they can do. And since then, I think we got rumors of ApeCoin back in Q3, Q4 of last year, and it's always been a bit of a given to me that NFT collections will have fungible tokens. Probably the first example of it was CyberKongs. They released the banana token, and then CyberKongs were Genesis CyberKongs, excuse me, passively earn banana token every single day. So I've always had that belief that every ERC 721 token should have a related ERC 20 token. If we have a look at ApeCoin, they came out, and going back to how to launch a token, for the next couple of minutes, I just want to talk about best practices, gold standards for launching a token when you have unlimited funds, or not unlimited, but you have a team of lawyers behind you. And it's really a professional outfit that Yuga Labs is running. So they've launched their own Twitter account. It's already verified. They come out and say it's an ERC governance and utility token to empower a decentralized community built at the forefront of Web3. They followed, obviously, the founders, or actually, they founded they're following the 5 board members, which we'll get to in a second. And then additionally, they also launched their own website as well. So we had a Twitter launch and a website launch simultaneously 24 hours before the token launch. If we click in to ApeCoin.com, really, really clean website, professionally made, it's custom. There's not too much information here on the front page, which is great. We have our Ape token here, ApeCoin token. And then we have information at the top. Let me zoom in slightly. About, we have an about page, governance, claim page for those Bored Ape and Mutant Ape holders. And then we also have a proposals and discussions page as well. Additionally, like most places, they've got a buy or sell button. And if I press that buy or sell button, it takes us to a page we saw earlier in the live stream, going through all of the different exchanges out there. So to launch a token outside of actual smart contracts and the tokens, this is the information you need. This is the information the market wants to see. And as you can see, it's very governance, operations, proposal heavy. It's all about the organization of a community around the token and giving us insight into what the token is, because obviously when someone of Bored Ape Yacht Club status launches a token, or anyone in that case, people have a myriad of questions initially that they want answered. So let's dive into each page. If we go into the about page, we have a bunch of about information, obviously. This is our generalized information about building into the Web3 economy. They're talking about culture has found new expression in Web3. Now, question for everyone out there, is ApeCoin a meme coin? I'm going to type that one down. Is ApeCoin a meme coin? Since I've seen its launch, I want to call it a culture coin. I want to call it a metaverse coin, a community coin, and I also want to call it a meme coin. It's a bit of a mixed bag at the moment of what it actually is. I bet some people would say it's not a meme coin because of all of the discussed utility around the token. So we'll see. Does a meme coin have to have no utility? Is ApeCoin a meme coin? We'll let the market decide on that one. But going through the major information, there's a lot of, well, the Yuga Labs founders are based in the United States, and there's been a lot of worries for creators in the United States about launching a token that's deemed a security, and then having a lot of SEC and regulation scrutiny come at you. So what they've done is they're very, very smart. They've created a new organization called the Ape Foundation. They've created a couple of different organizations that separates Yuga Labs, who is owned by 4 people, separates their legal liability from Ape Foundation, which is in charge of the ApeCoin. So again, for those that are looking at how other NFT collections launch tokens in the future, here's a best practice. The foundation facilitates decentralized and community-led governance. And I think that's really key. Pretty much, Yuga Labs wants to be able to say to any regulatory body, I don't control the governance, or we don't dictate what happens to ApeCoin. Therefore, you can't really punish us. If things go bad, people lose money, blah, blah, blah. This was all done by the Ape Foundation. It wasn't done by us. So I think that's the general understanding there, and seems quite sophisticated. It is tasked with administering the decisions of ApeCoin DAO. So there's another organization. We actually have an ApeCoin DAO that's either within the foundation or, in parallel with the foundation, and is responsible for day-to-day administration, bookkeeping, project management, and other tasks. So if a lawyer ever comes and says, Yuga Labs, you run the operations of ApeCoin, nope, not true. The Ape Foundation does through the ApeCoin DAO. The ApeCoin DAO, I believe we'll look at in just a second, has a board of directors. Yes, Ape Foundation is nothing but a steward for the growth and development of the ape ecosystem. Wonderful. So we've got a foundation. Within that foundation, we have a DAO. The ApeCoin DAO exists because decentralized governance is critical. They've created something called Ape Improvement Proposals. And for those newer to crypto, probably not the one viewer on there. Hey, one viewer. A lot of decentralized communities have improvement proposals. And then pretty much they'll just stick their name in front of improvement proposals and they'll call them AIPs or AIPs in this case, or Ape Improvement Proposals. So Wiren Finance has YIPS, Wiren Improvement Proposals. So they're using best practices that have already been established in the crypto market for their governance. ApeCoin DAO members are allowed to make decisions regarding the ecosystem fund allocations, governance rules, projects, partnerships, and beyond. And then they say ApeCoin DAO membership is open to all ApeCoin holders. They've really given the decision-making process of holding ApeCoin left to the ApeCoin holders. Yes. Next up, we have a board. This is the Ape Foundations board. They're going to provide oversight of the foundation administrators. They are going to administer DAO proposals, serve the vision of the community. And here is the board. Very, very respected people, all of them. We have Alex Ohanian, co-founder of Reddit, Amy Wu, head of ventures and gamings at FTX, Maria Bajwa, principal at Sound Ventures, Yatsiu, co-founder and chairman at Animoca Brands, and then also Dean Stenbeck, general counsel at Horizon Labs. So we've got a lawyer, we've got two co-founders, we've got a VC, and yeah, two VCs, two co-founders, and one lawyer on our board of directors. Now, the third different organization that they've kind of created is the ApeCoin protocol, which is probably the most difficult to wrap our head around. What is a protocol? In this case, ApeCoin is an ERC-720 token, and it's a governance and utility token used within the Ape ecosystem. Now, they're calling the ApeCoin protocol an open source protocol layer of the ecosystem, serving multiple purposes: governance, unification of spending, so budgeting, access, and incentivization, or expenses. It's funny how crypto has pretty much taken a lot of company best practices and corporate governance best practices from, say, Wall Street, from Fortune 500, and we've just given them new names. Instead of expenses, it's incentivization. Instead of budgeting, it's unification of spend. So really cool. Now, what I like the most and what they say down here is one of the things I like the most is ApeCoin is a tool for third-party developers to develop in the ecosystem by incorporating Ape into services, games, and other projects. At Collective Shift, we've been chatting about investing in organizations who are foundational to the rest of crypto. And what we mean by that is Uniswap. Uniswap did the AMM, or the automated market maker, and now other organizations, instead of building their own AMM, we'll just take Uniswap's, and we'll just take Uniswap's open source code, and then we'll incorporate that or integrate that into our product. It benefits Uniswap, and it benefits the new company because they don't have to spin up an AMM. In this case, if you are a metaverse or an NFT builder, instead of spinning up your own coin, well, let's just build my product or service that, regardless if I use a stable coin or an ERC or an Ethereum or an ERC20, regardless of what token I use, my product or service is going to stay the same. So now people can choose to build into ApeCoin, which I think is massive, related to crypto's continued open source nature. We've always had an open source nature in crypto where code is, lovingly shared between participants. We want composability of tokens. We want composability of platforms, interoperability of platforms, excuse me. And we really want people to build with what we've already created. Another one is Alchemix. Alchemix does the self-repaying loans platform is their valuation proposition. That's another one where instead of other organizations also creating self-repaying loans, I have a feeling a lot of organizations will just take Alchemix's code, use their integrations. It benefits Alchemix, and then a new product doesn't have to make brand new smart contracts that are going to be trying to be better than Alchemix is. So two parallels here where Instead of building a metaverse currency, some entrepreneurs will simply say, let's just integrate ApeCoin. Here is the allocation. Moving on to what everybody loves is tokenomics. We'll get into tokenomics right now. ApeCoin allocation. Permanently fixed total supply of 1 billion tokens. I thought this was pretty interesting. Unit bias is a real thing. So if we continue to have 1 billion tokens forever, these prices are going to get pretty high. And when we're talking about a coin that's a metaverse coin, I'm potentially calling it a meme coin, but I don't think it is, a cultural coin, it might be hard for the retail investors to shell out $50, $60, $100 for one ApeCoin, in the future. So surprised they probably didn't do 10 billion instead of 1 billion. I'd be curious to hear from Yuga Labs, hear from the lawyers, in the coming months or years to that decision. Because I think this price, if everything keeps going well in the next 6 to 18 to 24 months, that price could get pretty high, and retail investors might be put off by a $50 culture coin purchase. So we'll see. Just a quick note on unit bias that is a real thing for investors. Back to our tokenomics page. We're over on the about page at apecoin.com. We have vesting. Well, actually, just get into the allocation. We have 62% for the ecosystem fund. That includes airdrops for NFT holders of Bored Apes and Mutant Apes. And it also accounts for treasury and resources. I believe they have a 3-year staking process or a 3-year staking mechanism where apes and mutants can stake their coins or stake their NFTs and earn ape coins over the coming 3 years and earn rewards. We have 16% for Yuga Labs and charity. Now we have 150 million going to Yuga Labs, which is interesting because we also have 8% going to the founders. So really we have 150 plus 8 plus 80. We have 23% of the token price going to 4 people, or 23% of the token allocation going to 4 people. The 4 excuse me. We have 2% going to 4 founders each for 8%. And then we have 150,000 tokens going to Yuga Labs. So don't really know what's going on there. 23% for 4 people is a lot. Hopefully, Yuga Labs uses 150 million of those tokens for further ecosystem development. And then, yes, if that's the case, great. The 4 creators of Bored Ape Yacht Club each own 2%. Bit debatable whether that's too high, too low. It's probably about right. So 23% going to Yuga Labs plus the 4 founders. An interesting choice here with charity. We've got 10 million tokens going to the Jane Goodall Legacy Foundation. And I'd love to hear how Yuga Labs picked Jane Goodall, why that charity over other charities. Also the percentage, why give them 0.01% or 0.1% of the total token supply? Why not more? Why not less? So just an interesting choice there for charity. Obviously admirable, but just a question that, a question of why. And I'm curious. These 2 tokens have initial lockup periods for about 12 months. So typically in private company investing for venture capitalists, for stock option issuances. If you're an employee at an early stage startup, typically your tokens are locked up for 4 years. We have a 1-year cliff, and then 25% of your tokens are unlocked, and then you'll vest, a 4-year vesting schedule. You'll vest monthly for the remaining 3 years. And seems like crypto is an industry, and then also Bored Apes, they've taken on that 1-year vesting cliff mechanism. So it looks like the Yuga Lab tokens are locked up for a year. Also, the Jane Goodall charity tokens are also locked up for a year. I'm very curious they locked up the charity tokens. I think Jane Goodall Foundation would want those today. So interesting they got locked up, but probably just for, so that they can't just dump on the market. Next up, and our last bit of allocation is launch contributors. This one probably has the most opaqueness around who these people are. We are giving 14% of the token supply to launch contributors. These are the companies and peoples that help make this project a reality. Well, I bet you there's quite a few of them. We have 140 million tokens, 2 launch contributors. They're also doing lockup schedules, varying by contributor. And then we don't really have too much information on who those contributors are or which vesting schedule they get. Some of them have initial lockup periods for 12 months, and then monthly vesting afterwards. And then one set of contributors gets 10 million tokens up front, 25 million after 6 months, 25 million after 12 months, and 25 million after 18 months. So we've got 85 million tokens going to a certain contributor who has a different vesting schedule than the other contributors. So I'd be very curious to get a bit more information on who that special contributor is and why do they get 10 million tokens up front. And these are more just questioning curiosity questions. For the other member that just started watching, hello, we're talking about Bored Ape Yacht Club and the Ape token setting best practices for other token launches in the future. And I think that a lot of very, very smart entrepreneurs will be scrutinizing this token release saying, great, I'm going to release a token in the next year or two. Let me steal or let me borrow some of these best practices. So I'm kind of nitpicking today because these are the details we want to get into. Now, down to ApeCoin claiming for Bored Ape Yacht Club and Mutant Ape Yacht Club holders. We'll breeze over this one because it's not that interesting. You know, they got rich is the end goal. 10,000 tokens for Bored Apes, 2,000 for mutants. And then what interesting, something interesting that they've done is that they've created what's called a companion NFT. So they have a third collection, the Bored Ape Kennel Club. And instead of constituting or saying that they're a full NFT, they're labeled as a companion NFT. And you can't actually stake your Bored Ape Kennel dog by itself to earn Ape token passively. You have to pair your kennel with a Bored Ape or with a mutant ape to actually experience some rewards. So you could see you could have some salty Bored Ape Kennel Club owners out there who are like, great, I bought in, I'm in now, and I want to earn ApeCoin, and sorry, you don't own an ape or you don't own a mutant, and you actually it's a little bit harsh for them, to be honest. But we do have a new mechanism that ApeCoin is kind of created here, saying that we have a new term called companion NFTs, which is very interesting. And now, based on these token allocations per NFT, we kind of get an inherent valuation as a percentage of one another. If we take our 10 million or 10,950, which is given to a Bored Ape holder who has a companion dog, and we minus it by 10,094, we get about 856 token is the difference between staking without a kennel dog. Now, if I take that 856 and I divide it by, say, 10,094, it's me 8.4%. So the premium given to an ape holder with a dog is 8.4%. Now, that kind of, in my opinion, gives some inherent value variance, for lack of a better term, between what Bored Ape should trade at and what kennel should trade at. I don't know if Bored Ape Kennel Dog should trade at 8% of apes, but obviously we're setting some inherent valuations here by how many tokens each NFT is getting per owner. Additionally, if we take our Mutant Ape Club owners accrual of 2,000, we divide that by the Bored Ape Club holders accrual of 10,000, they're saying that each mutant is worth about 20% of each Bored Ape. That's inherent in the mathematics. So very, very interesting there. I don't think many people are discussing this value accrual. And now we have a quantitative way to say why a Bored Ape should be more valuable than a mutant ape, not just from aesthetics and scarcity standpoint. It's from a value accrual standpoint. Cool. They've got a bunch of other information here, like more detailed information for Mutant Ape and Bored Ape Club members. Cool. We'll breeze it. We'll skip that today. And they've got some information on how the actual claiming of NFTs works. With pretty much what we need to know is that claim the claim period ends in 90 days. So the Mutant and Bored Ape members have 90 days to go out there and claim their tokens. Now, probably the biggest thing, where is it? I think it's actually in the proposals. The accrual of, this is just the claiming of the initial airdrop, but the accrual of Ape token for staking purposes is attributed to the NFT holder. And if an Ape or a Mutant holder sells their NFT, the future Ape coins that are going to be passively earned by that NFT go to the new owner. So they're setting best practices for NFT transferability related to passive accrual of an ERC20 token for your NFT. So let's get through the About page and we'll move to governance because there's a lot to pick off there. And down the bottom, we've got an FAQ. Breakdowns are different organizations and entities: Yuga Labs, Bored Ape Yacht Club, Ape Foundation, Ape DAO, and then actual Ape token. How is the foundation board selected? Members voice their willingness to participate. That job will actually have a lot of scrutiny, to be honest. Probably one of the most scrutinized boards outside of Fortune 500 companies. Now, the initial board will serve for 6 months, and then I think they do have to be re-voted in to remain on the board. So we're setting governance oversight best practices here related to boards of directors for NFT collections, and actually not for NFT collections, for the ApeCoin in particular. And here we go. Here is the limiting liability sentence for Yuga Labs. A lot of this organizational structure, in my opinion, is to limit the liability for Yuga Labs related to future scrutiny from the SEC or regulators saying that, you know, they control ApeCoin. And here is a wonderful, wonderful phrase that limits that liability. Yuga Labs is a contributor to the Ape ecosystem and will assist in the creation of products and experiences for the ecosystem as a whole. So all they've defined themselves as is just simply a contributor. We are not owners. We are not controllers. We just simply contribute like you or I. And they're trying to say pretty much they're the same as us. And they've got some information here on the charitable donation to the Jane Goodall Foundation. That's wonderful. Give us a bit more info there. And then, yes, why don't those with only Bored Ape Kennel Club NFTs, the dogs, get a token allotment? And then here is what they call, or here they define Bored Ape Kennel Club NFTs are companion NFTs. Probably the first instance in history of seeing a phrase like this called companion NFT. We've seen other collections also have companion NFTs, you know, with cool cats and cool pets. So I could see other collections in the future having some sort of similar dynamic with a primary NFT, a Genesis NFT, and then secondary or companion NFTs that don't have the full rights and privileges that the primary NFT holders get. Awesome. Let's move on to governance. Hopefully that's changed. Yes, perfect. If we switch over to the governance page, it goes into quite a bit of detail about ApeCoin DAO governance. And for our two new listeners today, we're going into detail on Bored Ape or on the ApeCoin, looking for best practices. In my opinion, DO boom in 2017, just like the DeFi summer of 2020, I think we're going to get an influx here of ApeCoin copycats, of NFT coin copycats, looking at the best practices that ApeCoin sets and Yuga Lab sets with their lawyers. They've got a big team of lawyers, in my opinion, or at least a small team, which is way more lawyers than most NFT collections have. I believe they're setting best practices, and we can compare these best practices to future tokens that are launched in the coming months or years and say, great, you know, some people are doing it correctly and some people are skipping best practices. So we'll actually just go down the table of contents because it's actually a lot of info. So let's go through the table of contents here. They talk about ApeCoin DAO governance, proposal processes, obviously within decentralized communities, both in DeFi and NFTs. A lot of focus has been around governance and proposals. And currently, it's a pretty inefficient manner of how decentralized communities, you know, do proposals and vote on new things. And it's getting better. Decentralized communities are realizing you need core teams, you need elected officials, you need true corporate governance. It's just we don't want to call it corporate governance. We want to call it DAO governance, I guess. We have the proposal process. Actually, let's go down there for a second. There's different proposal categories. So if you were to write a proposal, you have to actually fit your proposal into a certain type of category. They talk about ecosystem fund allocation if you want to get some ApeCoin from their foundation. Talk about and then brand decisions, process, an informational proposal, and those are the ones. And they actually also give us a template. How good is this? So like, if you were to go and write a proposal for a decentralized community, it's very confusing. How do I structure this? How do I write one that's compelling? How do I sell it so that other people in the community will support me? And then also, how do I even templatize it? Here, they've given us a proposal template. Talk about gold standards of cryptocurrency communities now. Like, this is just awesome. They want us to have an abstract, a motivation, a rationale, key terms, which optional, but definitely do it because there's just too many acronyms in crypto, specifications, steps to implement, timeline, and overall cost. So this is a great piece of information that even if you're not going to write an ApeCoin proposal, I'm going to take this template and use this for all my proposals now. The author can add additional fields to the template if they want to. And you can also resubmit your proposals if they don't pass the first time. And then also they give us the proposal process. How good is this? Honestly, there's a lot of decentralized communities that I'm a part of that you four are probably a part of because you're deep into crypto, and it's a madhouse, absolute madhouse. You're in Discord looking at forums, you're in Snapshot looking at proposals and votes. And then every proposal has a different template, and it's just, there's a different, you don't always know the process for each decentralized community. So I love how they are pretty much telling us this is how it's going to work and fall into line. For our proposal process, we've got the AIP idea. AIP stands for Ape Improvement Proposals. Then you've got the AIP draft, 7-day feedback window, AIP analysis report, AIP moderation. How long does that last? And the post moderation tagging, then an administrative review in phase 6. Got a lot of phases. Then phase 7 is live. If you pass phase 1 through 6, you do have a live AIP. And then once you hit this step, only then will it go live onto Snapshot. And when I say Snapshot, they literally mean, Snapshot. They've already created a Snapshot page. I'm going to go join this later today. And we actually haven't had any proposal get through stages 1 through 6 to make it here to a live proposal. Gosh, this is so cool. Now, if we had more time, we're sitting at about 48 minutes. Wow, time flies. We should actually probably do a whole another video on just the proposal process, because we could dig into the minutia here and the details of, great, I'm pretty much going to, for all the decentralized communities I'm a part of, I'm going to rip and replace just pretty much this whole process. They've kind of set this up. They've obviously done a lot of thought and research around this. So why recreate the wheel? Probably for those interested, and I know there's already people within crypto who are dedicating their careers, their foreseeable career, to just DAOs and to just DAO governance. And to me, this is what an invaluable piece of literature here that they've set out here. I would love someone who's a DAO governance expert to come in here and rip this thing apart and say, great, they've done most of the best practices, but here's X, Y, or Z where I think they've kind of faltered, or where I think other things can be better. And now we get into voting mechanisms and Snapshot. Snapshot is used because it's gasless and there's no transaction fee related to your vote on a proposal. We talk about the voting process, voting delegations. Ooh. So just like other decentralized communities out there, major ones, there is a delegation mechanism where, say I hold a few Ape token, I don't hold enough to swing a vote, so I just want to delegate it to someone else who's up to date on the foundation, up to date with ApeCoin. I can delegate my votes, which is nice. Now, the future of ApeCoin DAO. What everybody wants to know. What is ApeCoin DAO going to do once they've sold their 200,000 metaverse plots? What are they going to build first? Now let's have a look. Awesome. First and foremost, if you're a startup and you raise seed funding, say seed round, A round, B round funding, your biggest expenses at a private company is human capital. If you go and raise $1, $2, $3 million, you better hire people very, very quickly and deploy that capital. Not straight away, but in a very sophisticated manner, and a lot of it will go to human capital. So here they want to hire DAO members to take care of administration, project management, moderation, and your prior startup, like from Silicon Valley, would have one community manager. And like it was a brand new role, and that community manager would handle Twitter, would handle TikTok, would handle, well, not TikTok, but would handle YouTube, Twitter, Insta, Facebook. And it was really one person. It was one community manager. Sometimes they'd get a team. In my opinion, DAOs and decentralized communities, that community manager role is going to be about 4, 5, 6 different types of roles: administrative, project management, moderation. They want to create a community steering committee, very similar to Fortune 500 practices, who have steering committees related to certain aspects of the business, like a financial steering committee. They're going to be implementing on-chain voting for ApeCoin DAO. And then they're also going to have their process for voting annually on elected DAO board members. Cool. So pretty standard there, I guess. Really good to see that they're hiring people right away. Gosh, won't those be sought after jobs? Cool. And I think we've actually fired through most of the governance page. Wonderful. Now, let's get into one more detailed bit of information. We could go to the claim page, but I won't really get into it. You need to connect your MetaMask, and then Ape and Mutant holders would be able to claim their Ape tokens. And actually, good thing is they've got their verified smart contract down here. Hopefully that takes me to Etherscan. Oh, good. Before we get into the proposals that have been already drafted, let's quickly look at the Etherscan and see, what's in this wallet. Wow. Oh, whoops. Excuse me. We already have $146 million worth of ApeCoin in their treasury. So, wow, that's wild. So good for them. This is the address page. I want to go to, I'm going to change this to the token page on Etherscan. Oh, interesting. That didn't show us too much. Let's see if the contract's been verified. As it's an open source contract, you and I can go in here and read the smart contract for ApeCoin for the ERC20 token. I've heard it's a pretty vanilla smart contract. So for those interested, it is open source. Now let's get back into, excuse me one second. Let's get back into the last pretty much crux of the information we've been given over the last couple of days. Here is the proposals page. And actually, no, excuse me. I think it's called the discussion. We have already 5 Ape improvement proposals that are live. And I really think this is great for best practice. If you launch a token, or if you're part of a community that's going to launch a token, already have some pre-submitted and pre-written proposals so that you can give direction to the community from the get-go. If they launched Ape token and then didn't give really any direction forward, there'd be so many question marks. Probably a lot of confused people or unhappy people. So in this case, they've given us 5 proposals to pretty much say, calm down, we've got plans for the next 3 to 6 months. Within these proposals, we have proposing the DAO. They're actually just doing an AIP to say that, the DAO's legit and we're going to create this DAO. They've got a voting AIP that talks about, they talk about year 1 budgets for the ecosystem fund allocation, which is great. Love that they're talking about expenses already. They talk about a staking process, which is most attributable or most informational to Bored Ape and Mutant holders for the staking of your NFT and the passive accruing of Ape token over time. And then the last one is staking pool allocate, which gets into the details of the staking allocation. Now, let's go into budget, staking, and staking allocation. something that's very interesting to note is we've got an organization called the Carton Group LLC, and they've drafted the first 3 proposals, and then the last 2 proposals were done by Animoca Brands, the game developer. So first off, year 1 budget. They are going to allocate 6% of the total Ape ecosystem fund for events, game development, education, marketing, and merchandise for the rest of the year. This first year budget ends on December 31st, 2022, and then it looks like they're going to become a calendar year organization. And then, their yearly budgets will run from January to December. And the motivation of this year 1 budget is to set up the Ape ecosystem for success, 6% of the budget. They want to have 3.2% for game development. That's great. Seems like gaming needs to come into the NFT and the metaverse space. 1.2% for events. Bored Ape Yacht Club already holds Ape Fest, which is an in real life event. And it looks like they might be doing virtual events, in real life events. Wonderful. 0.8% of the budget for merch production. So we're going to be creating merchandise. 0.5% for education and marketing. Seems low, but that sounds good. I'd love to see a lot around education, because education is a quasi type of marketing. And then 0.3% for the development of an ApeCoin NFT marketplace. How exciting is that? I know Matt, a fellow researcher at Collective Shift, he's been mentioning that I think like top 5 of the top 11 NFT collections now fall under the Yuga Labs umbrella. You've got the punks, you got the Meebits, you got the mutants, bored apes, bored, and then you got the kennels. Those 5 NFT collections are all in the top 11 or 12. So it wouldn't surprise any of us or me if, yes, they built their own NFT marketplace. They took demand away from OpenSea and they said, great, we'll just take all of our trading volume over to the ApeCoin NFT marketplace. And then if, say, you or I, as entrepreneurs in the future, want to build into the ApeCoin ecosystem, maybe our NFTs can get looked on this marketplace, and we don't want our NFTs on OpenSea anymore. We want them on the ApeCoin marketplace. So, bit of speculation there, but really good to see that they're going to build their own NFT marketplace. I think it's something that's just needed for the best NFT collections in the world. And that is year 1 budgets. Makes sense to me. Moving on. Let's quickly look at the staking processes. This is something with the creation of tokens as compared to equity and stocks in the traditional stock market. Unique and novel staking mechanisms are not available for equity shares. You can't go and stake them, and you can't go yield farm with your Tesla stock. It's just not possible. So with tokens, we can. That's why I love looking at unique and novel staking mechanisms, because it's stuff that the equity markets just simply can't do, and they'll never be able to do, and they'll never catch up. So if we look at the abstract here, we're going to have a staking system for ApeCoin, for Bored Apes, for Mutant Apes, and for the Kennel Club. So we got 4 different pools that we've created here. Eligibility for staking will be like different assets. As we mentioned earlier, the Bored Ape Kennel Club has been called a companion NFT and cannot be committed on its own. It has to be paired with either a mutant or a Bored Ape, and you get an 8.4% increase in your allocation or your passive rewards for having a kennel or for having a dog NFT. Now, I want to come down to this section, maintained NFT tradability. What are the legal rights of your NFT holder related to accruing ApeCoin? And it says that only ApeCoin is ever staked. So even though I say we're staking our mutant and our Bored Apes, we're still going to be able to use those in DeFi and in the NFT marketplace. So it's a symbolic staking for the NFTs, but it's an actual staking for ApeCoin, and ApeCoin will be locked up in their staking contract. But the owner of a specific NFT at the claim point is able to claim the accrued ApeCoin attributed to that NFT even if they were not the ones who originally initiated the staking commitment. So when staking opens up, I'm going to stake my Bored Ape. But if I sell that in the future, if I don't claim that ApeCoin, it's going to go, and the rights of those ApeCoin accrued are going to transfer with the NFT ownership to the new owner. So theoretically, if I stake my ape and then I want to sell him in the future, I better claim those ApeCoins like the minute that I go and put it on the secondary market, or else someone else is going to get those ApeCoins. So accrued ApeCoins accrue to the NFT holder, not the NFT staker, which is interesting. I could see NFT markets out there being like, hey, I've got a Bored Ape for sale that's, accrued 6 months of ApeCoin, and now you've got a massive premium to the floor price of that ape, because, well, you're not only buying an ApeCoin, you're buying, you're not only buying an NFT, you're buying associated accrual from an historical time period. So very, very interesting financial rights that come to NFT holders. And I think it makes a lot of sense. If you lose your ape, or if you sell it, the rights of those future accrued ape coins should transfer as well to someone else. Now it looks like to get this staking process in effect, it's going to take about 16 to 20 weeks, and they're allocating 300 grand to 500 grand of their budget to say, great, we need to write the smart contracts, do the UX, user experience, user interface design, project management, quality assurance, auditing services, and then the engineering. So it's going to take about 4 to 5 months here, 16 to 20 weeks to get this set up, which is pretty reasonable. Maybe questionable that this isn't set up, at launch, but I bet that was a trade-off that they said that, instead of waiting an extra 16 to 20 months to release this token, wasn't worth having it ready for at launch. And now our last AIP proposal. We're sitting on a little over an hour. We've been live streaming, thanks to my one viewer out there. And here is the Ecosystem Foundation and the staking pool allocation. We've mentioned we have our 4 pools: Ape, ApeCoin, Mutant, and Kennel. And here is our token distribution, or our estimated token distribution. The token distribution period is going to last 3 years. 100 million in the first year, 50 million in the second, 25 million in the third. So we have a decreasing token allocation size per year. And then it looks like even within each year, the amount of tokens distributed is continually going down. So 35% of the 1 million or the 100 million in year one, maybe in the first 91 days, and then we slowly decrease every 90 days, from 35% to 30% to 20% to 15%, or 100%. Awesome. Similarly, they do the same thing in year 2 and year 3, in that if you stake within the first 90 days, you get a slightly higher percentage than the subsequent 90 days, There she is, Sandra. Hey, Sandra, great to have you here. Yeah, very, very impressed. Really, really good that we're going through this in detail to see what best practices are out there for launching a token, because you know that Yuga Labs and ApeCoin are working with a team of lawyers. And that's actually, honestly, I've thought about that for a while, not to go on too long a lawyer tangent, but a lot of NFT questions, the buck stops with the lawyer. We've all got to do with tokens. At the end of the day, we want to talk to a lawyer. I think crypto lawyers are probably some of the most in-demand people outside of smart contract writers in the industry. And there's a bit more detailed information there about the staking pool allocation, but I think we've covered all of the crux of the information. Wonderful. We've sat here at about an hour, and let's go back to what everyone actually wants to talk about: price estimate. Sandra, you might have been here to start, so I'm going to actually repeat myself in that I think there's two options for the short-term price performance of ApeCoin. I think that we're already seeing ApeCoin follow the typical crypto J-curve. And actually, let me pull that crypto J-curve up because it's just so good. Thank you, Chris Bernitsky, way back in the day. Gosh, this aged well. Here's Chris Bernitsky talking back in August 2017 about the crypto J-curve. And we have seen this personally. I've seen a lot of tokens launched, and we all have in DeFi and NFTs, and a lot of them follow this pattern. We have here is the crypto J-curve. We have our initial demand being set, a local all-time high being set. Then we have a regression and a finding of an equilibrium period where we find an equilibrium price or a short-term or a local low. And then, of course, because we know that ApeCoin does have utility in the future and it's going to grow, and then it skyrockets to the moon, over time, in a pattern, or sometimes a repeated J-curve up and up. And then they also have a wonderful visual here that I really love. Here is the crypto J-curve, and pretty much, I could pretty much take any token in the world and say, where does it fall on this graph? Now, I'm a bit of a bear for 2022 when it comes to crypto. I think most of crypto is sitting right about here in this compressing DEV UV. We had expanding growth all throughout 2020, 2021, bull market vibes. Absolutely loved it. But in my opinion, I think Bitcoin and ETH are sitting somewhere about 2/3 into this compressing period. Maybe DeFi is slightly ahead of it. Slightly, because DeFi's all-time highs were a little before BTC and ETH's all-time highs, if I remember right. Certainly BTC, which happened in November, but we had a lot of blue chip DeFi organizations whose all-time highs to start the compressing period, they were back in May and June and August, so many months before Bitcoin's. And I do think that NFTs right now are in an expanding period. So real quick on the crypto J-curve, because I could talk about that every day. But back to our token. Let's wrap up here. In my opinion, I think the token, we've hit an all-time high local top of about $17. We're currently sitting at 13. We're up 81% over the last 24 hours. In my opinion, I think we either continue our short initial demand period and we continue the pump up to, say, mid-20s. Say 25 is my estimate for a local all-time high before we go through a multiple month regression period and the finding of an equilibrium price. So if we did hit 25, I could see us coming back down to the 17, the 15, the 13 realm. Or potentially this is the end of our crypto J-curve, which would be a little premature. We're only 2 or 3 days in. It would be a pretty quick one. But if it was the case, token issuance price was around $4.60. CoinGecko says 7, but they were just a couple minutes or hours behind. So I could see, from a bearish standpoint, ApeCoin going from $13 down to between 7 and 13. I don't think ApeCoin is going to be one of those coins that ever goes below issuance price ever again. There's just too much hype. There's too many people out there who will snap it up at $6, $7, $8 in my opinion. So maybe 10. People do like round numbers, so I could see us regressing back to $9, slightly below 10. But I just don't see us going back down into the $3, $4, $5 category ever again. And that probably should wrap us up. Thank you to the people we had here today. Special thanks to Sandra. Really appreciate you being here. Hopefully you learned something. I certainly learned more about best practices for NFT collections. Now I'm going to take the knowledge that we learned from Bored Ape Yacht Club's token release and go and scrutinize every token release in the coming future to see if it's up to par. And if it's not, well, that's another data point in our valuation processes for investing. And that's where we will end. Thank you, everyone. Please like and subscribe if you're watching this on tape delay. Come over to collectiveshift.io. I personally do project discovery calls once a week for brand new investment opportunities every Friday. We also have an NFT portfolio. We have one of the few NFT portfolios in the world that's public for our members. So we share, I think we purchased 6 NFTs as part of our NFT portfolio. It's not a mock portfolio. We're purchasing these NFTs. They're on our balance sheet. And it's a way to show you what we are actively interested in. So it's somewhat to make us a little bit of money, but it's more to demonstrate to you that we're invested and this is what we are investing in. We also have an NFT, we have an NFT portfolio. We also have a long-term growth portfolio and a early stage crypto investment opportunities portfolio. So 3 different portfolios, not mock portfolios, live portfolios that go from early stage assets, late stage assets, and NFTs. So head over to collectiveshift.io for more information. Thank you so much. Bye for now.